I'm a frickin' nutcase. Tonight I thought I figured I'd take you along on my evening ride after work. First nice night in a few nights, and well, I was in the mood for doing some riding. What I sort of wanted to talk about tonight is the lessons I learned, or at least the most important lessons I learned in my first long cross-country trip. And there are three big lessons. The first one, I'm going to post a picture of my bike, which was the Suzuki DL650. As I got ready to set out, I think this was on day one, you'll notice that I've got two bags strapped across the seat. Show up the picture of the bike sitting on the beach in Vancouver, and you'll notice there's only one bag there. This was the hard lesson number one. No matter how well you think things are strapped down, they're not strapped down well enough. That top bag blew off the bike about 60 kilometers east of Brandon, Manitoba. Didn't notice it till I got to Brandon. Exactly why I didn't notice it is always going to remain a mystery. But in it I lost my lenses, my charger for my camera. That's why there's not a whole lot of pictures on this trip. Lost my rain gear and my iPad. A bunch of other sundries, including my spare keys for the bike. So that was a hard lesson to learn. I used all four straps from then on in on the one remaining bag. So lesson number one, it's never strapped down well enough, and I was checking it at every gas stop. Lesson number two was make sure you know your bike mechanically and you've got some mechanical skills. On the way back from Vancouver, about I guess an hour east of Portage-la-Prairie, I stopped to use a tree. When I was getting back on the bike and putting it in gear, it sounded a little funny. So I decided to figure out what that little funny was. It turned out that my chain had been slowly getting looser and looser, to the point now that one of the rivets had snapped out. That wasn't good. A little cussing and swearing later, I dug out my chain tool and a couple of universal links and bits and pieces of chain that I'd scavenged, and a little more cussing and swearing and a little more figuring, got my chain back together. But that was sort of the beginning of the end of that chain. I guess it had just sort of worn itself completely out. For the rest of the trip, it was taking adjustments every night, or sometimes even middle of the day. So lesson number two, learned the hard way, is always be ready for mechanical issues. You never know when they're going to come up, and be prepared. I guess the Boy Scouts did me a good job there. I guess you could say a corollary to that lesson is even though there was only about 20,000 kilometers on the chain when I left, I debated replacing it. Decided not to, based on a lot of the research I'd done. Well, I sort of listened to my little inner voice and replaced the damn chain. So lesson three, I said there was going to be three lessons, and this is sort of the last big one, is despite having done a couple of prep rides on the bike, a couple of 1,000-kilometer weekends and long weekend rides, I thought I had a good handle on fuel economy. Well, day three, which turned out, I guess, to be the monumental day of the trip, I left Thunder Bay with a full tank of Go Juice, pointed my way northwest. Knowing that my next big stop would be in Dryden, 360 kilometers north, knowing I had a tank range of well in excess of that, somewhere north of 400 kilometers, and I'd proven that many times, I decided to just take a stretch break in an ass and pass up getting any gas there. Well, that was a big mistake. A good half hour south of Dryden, I was on fumes. My low fuel light was on. It then went to the sort of small square flashing reserve, and I really figured I'd be just about fresh out of gas before long. I did manage to make it to Dryden after driving a lot more conservatively, the last, say, 50 to 75k. Put in, I think, about a half a liter short of the full capacity of the V-Strom. I think the V-Strom is 22 liters, and I was a little over 21. So yeah, what happened? Well, I should have been able to go 360k, but I found a couple of good rabbits to follow up that stretch of road. I was also having a good time riding aggressively, passing trucks with reckless abandon. So yeah, that's what happened. As I was having a good time and probably using fuel a little harder than I normally would. So that was lesson number three, and it sort of came back again later in the trip, crossing the prairies. My fuel economy plummeted, and so did my range, and at that point I was cruising with a 110 limit and a headwind. That really sucked her dry pretty quick as well. So lesson number three is plan your fuel. Don't be surprised if you use a little more than you figured. So always have a plan for where you're going to get gas. So those are my 3 hard lessons learned for my first cross-country road trip. Hopefully somebody who's just getting into doing touring and long riding will find these interesting. Can learn a bit from my mistakes. At any rate, I'm a frickin' nutcase.